Welcome. So today we are going to learn about Apex Ragdolls. And for Ragdolls in Apex, you just have to put two main things in the packed folder: the collision shapes and the skeleton with joint limits. Collision shapes are the most basic shapes you can represent your geometry with, just like a proxy geometry. And they are usually convex hulls or simple geometries such as capsules or boxes or spheres. And skeleton with joint limits are used by the Ragdoll solver to define that how much a joint should rotate or translate. And in this video we will go through these topics. So at first we will configure a character for Ragdoll, a basic Apex Ragdoll. In this time we'll use Electra, and then we will simulate the Ragdoll in pose mode and bake the animation back to the main character. And then we will constrain the joints, and then we'll learn how to set the simulation values, just like we used to do for the KineFX methods, like stiffness and density and dampening. And then we'll learn that how we can use the Ragdoll pose mode. And then we will learn that how we can add and simulate props as rigid bodies. And then we will learn, finally we will learn that how we can merge manual keyframe animations and ragdolls at specific times. So let's open a fresh Houdini instance, and over here we can drop the test geometry Electra. This will be Electra will be the test geometry we will use for this tutorial. And go to the geometry level and set the output on the Electra node to Apex character. And you don't need to turn on this configure Ragdoll, because we will configure it on our own. And right now the packed folder has 4 things for us. If you have a rig tree open, you can see that on the rig tree window. So we have in our packed folder the base.rig, the apex rig, and the base.scale, which is the skeleton, and the base.shape, which is the wrist geometry, and the control shape library, which is the control shapes for the joint skeleton joints. And we only want the skeleton and the shape, which we will use to generate the collision shapes. And to do that, grab the first output of the Electra and drop down a unpacked folder and set it to base.skull, and this will be our skeleton. And I'll click and drag to duplicate it and name it rest shape or geo, and set it to base.p for shape. And to create the Ragdoll collision shapes, you have to drop down the Ragdoll collision shapes node. And the first thing it wants is the skeleton. Second thing it wants is the collision shapes for the solver, which we don't need right now, and you can leave it without connecting anything to it. And the third input wants the rest geometry, and this is our rest shape over here. And if you set the display flag on the Ragdoll collision shapes, it gives an error. So the input skeleton is missing a rest transform attribute, and this causes the collision shapes to be built in each frame, which will result in performance issues downstream. And to fix this, you want a rest transform attribute on this skeleton. So to do that, you have to drop down a rig stash pose node, and this will stash the skeleton and give you a rest transform. And you can also put a animated skeleton. It just needs to have a the rest position at the first frame, and this will give us the rest transform attribute, and now we can plug that in as a skeleton, and the error is gone now. And to see the collision shapes, you have to press enter to go to the show handles option. Just press enter, and these are the collision shapes which are on convex hulls, and they will be used as the collision shapes for our ragdoll simulation. And we can display intersections for debugging, and can also modify that if they should be convex hulls or basic shapes, and to do that you have to go to the generate shapes parameter folder of this node, and turn off generate convex hulls and turn on generate basic shapes, and you can set any kind of basic shape you want, box or capsule, anything, but we will use convex hull this time. Basic shapes will be much better for performance, and it will be much faster to cook. And we can display intersections for debugging, and as you can see this part goes red because there are intersections, and to fix that you can enable handles, and this will show the handles, and before clicking on any of these you have to set the shape to convex hull, so we don't get the shape set to any simple geometry. And now you can select any of these geometries and press Y to switch between the transform controls, and we can scale it down on the Y axis, or this is the Z axis, and then you can press Y again to get the transform handles, and we can do the same for this. And you can also preview the ragdoll simulation right now using the ragdoll solver. This is the old KineFX method, and we won't use it for the Apex method. This is just for preview. And you can turn on ground collision if you want, because we obviously want that. And now if you play the simulation, you will see that the character just freezes on its position, and that's happening because we don't have joint limits set on it. And to do that you have to drop down and first you have to switch to the view mode, view option, using by pressing space or using this button, so that it doesn't give you any errors, and drop down a configure joint limits and connect it over here, and set the display flag. And now you can switch to show handles back again by pressing enter, and if you have, you just have to click on it again, and this gives a interactive system to set up joint limits. Like in this you can set up the rotation limits, you can also set up translation limits, but that would be unnecessary. And you can do this just like this for all of the joints. And we have a alternative way to this, because this will consume so much of time, and we can use motion clips to define it. As you can see, the second input of this is a motion clip, and over here on the compute limits option, you can compute limits for joints from motion clip. So we will do that. And to do that, you have to take the skeleton and drop down a rig pose node and set the display flag on that. And now you have to keyframe all of these few times, as many times as you want. So I'll do it for 2 times or maybe 3. So 3 times, and you will set poses for all of those keyframes, different poses, and that will be used to configure the joint limits. So I'll start with the first frame of it. And this will be the pose of our first frame, and don't mind if it looks weird. It will just be used for to configure the joint limits. And now we will do it for the second keyframe. And this will be the pose for the second keyframe. Now we'll do it for the third keyframe. And this will be the pose for the third keyframe. And they will look like this. And you can do it like in any way you want. They just need to be feel natural. So these remember that they will be used to configure joint limits, so you can do it with real life preferences. And now we have to convert it to motion clip. So drop down a motion clip node, and on this you can recompute the local transforms and also turn on frame range. And now you need to switch back to the view mode, because if you don't, it will give some errors. Now you have to connect the motion clip to the second input. And over here, now you can again switch to the show handle. You just have to click on it again to get the controls. And now if you turn on compute limits from joints, and you can also do it for the translation limits, but I won't use that. And this will work, and as you can see, the joint limits are already set for us like this, as you can see. And this will be useful. And now if you do the solve again on the Ragdoll solver, you will see that the Electra falls on the ground in a natural way, mostly. And we don't want to use the Ragdoll solver now. What we want to do is so this Ragdoll collision shapes gives 2 outputs. The first one is the skeleton, on which we also have the joint limits attribute, the FBIK joint config dictionary attribute, which defines the joint limits. And with on the second output we have the collision shapes. And we can again update it on the packed folder. So drop down a packed folder node and connect the first input of it to the first output of the Electra, and connect the source inputs to the Ragdoll collision shapes to output. And now you have to name it. So the first output is base scale, and the second is the collision shape, so Ragdoll collisions just, and this doesn't need a type information. And now you want to map the rig with the skeleton so that it can be applied, the ragdoll can be applied back to the skeleton. And to do that, you have to do a apex map character. And before doing that, you have to switch to the view mode to not get any errors. Apex map character, and you need to keep the map by name on. It will make many things easy for us. And specify the rig path, base.rig and base.scale, the skeleton path. And now you can press enter to go to the show handle option, and you can transform the apex rig controls. And as you can see, the map by name automatically uh, connects these joints. So what we have to do over here is map the skeleton joints to the apex rig joints. And as you can see, the name differs over here. So arm IK handle R, and this one is hand R, so that's why this is not getting connected. And to manually connect them, you just have to select it and select the joint you want to connect it to. And you can do it for all the joints which are disconnected, like this. Oops, I don't think the hips are needed. And the spine and the chest, and also the leg controls. So these ones, and this is ready now. And you can also oops, so this needs to be connected to the leg icon handle. And this is mostly ready, but what you can also do is connect the mid arms and the mid legs to these pole controls, so that we don't get any errors later on, because the poles would stay on their position because they are not parented to anything. So you can do it for them. This. And now you have to configure the Ragdoll character, and you can also do this in the pose mode, but you can it is better to do this over here. So switch back to the view mode to not get any errors, and drop down the apex configure character. And now switch back to the show handle option. And handles are unneeded, so we can keep it on the view mode. And now we want a ragdoll configuration, and the character name is the name which will appear on the selection set for the ragdoll. So set it to something like Vectra Ragdoll, and you have to choose the skeleton and the collision shapes. So this is a ragdoll collision for us, and most of the things are automatically done. And this also takes the FPIK joint config dictionary attribute we had over here to specify the joint limits. And now our character configuration is ready, and now we can move on to simulating it in the pose mode. So now we have our ragdoll configured, and now we can simulate it in the pose mode, and we can transfer it back to the Apex rig. And at first we have to add our configured character to a scene. So drop down a Apex add scene character, scene add character, and plug in the character files and name it Electra. And now you just have to drop down a scene animate, or you can just click on the pose button over here, and it will automatically create a scene animate for you. Now click on the pose button, and now you can obviously pose it in the pose mode, but we want to simulate it as a ragdoll. We want to simulate our ragdoll. So to do that, you have to press C and go to Ragdoll, or just click it from over here. Now, as you can see, you see the intersecting collision shapes and the man geometry. And if you hit play, the Ragdoll works. And to see it better, what you can do is you can press Ctrl plus G to get the animate settings HUD, and then press Ragdoll's settings, and on the solver tab you have all the solver related parameters, and what we want to do is we want to turn off ground display for better visualization, and we want to get the transform handles for that. And obviously you can also set the solver parameters over here, like ground bounce, ground friction, gravity, and decreasing the time step will just decreasing the time step will make the simulation more high quality. And you have to make sure that on the Actions tab you have this show visualizer offset handle on. Now you can press Ctrl plus G to hide it and offset it on the x-axis. And now if you play it, you can easily see it. And great. And what you can also do is instead of viewing this the collision shapes, you can view the man shape, the man geometry. And to do that, you have to again press Ctrl plus G, and on the Ragdoll settings Actions tab, you have to on the visualize option, you have to set it to skin geometry. Now it will display the skin geometry. So now it displays skin geometry. And if you go to the animate again, so the pose mode, and now if you pose the Electra like this, you will see that if you go to Ragdoll mode again, we have the same pose for the Ragdoll. And if you play it, as you can see, same pose in the first frame. And to fix this issue, you just have to press Ctrl plus G again, and Ragdoll settings, actions, and over here you have to do reload target animation. And now you have to select the animation clip to reload. If you have multiple characters, then you will have multiple options over here. And just press accept and reload it again. Select all, accept. Now it should work. Oh, we have offset it on the frames. So as you can see, same pose. And now it simulates differently. And now we want to transfer the animation back to this man character. And to do that, you again have to press Ctrl plus G, and or on whichever frame you want to transfer the ragdoll animation onto the memory, you have to just press big keys on that frame. So like on this frame, I can press big keys, and now I have the same thing over here, as you can see. But it is very inconvenient because let's just delete it. So just select all the controls and delete this keyframe, which this big keys option generates on the Electra controls. And what's the downside of that big keys button is you have to press it for all the frames. So instead of doing that, you can record the frames. And over here you have the option of bake keys to new layer. If you have this turned on, then it will bake the animation, the ragdoll animation to a new animation layer. And animation layers are a whole different thing. It is a way to layer animations in Apex, and I have a video on it, so I will just add the link to it in description. You can watch that to get to know about this animation layers, and we can have it turned off right now or even on. Let's just turn it on. Now you have to start recording poses and just play it. And if you select the Electra controls, you will see that the keyframes are being recorded, and you can stop anytime. So I just stopped it. And now if you go to the pose mode again, let's just press Ctrl plus G to hide that. And now press C and go to animate. Now you will see that our main Electra geometry follows it. I mean the skeleton of it. And now you can obviously invoke it. So effects scene invoke, and output all character shapes. And if you go out of the pose mode, you have it as a geometry, and obviously it is packed right now, so you have to unpack it with two iterations. So this is it for the posing, I mean the simulation and baking section. And now we will learn that how we can set up constraints. So now we are going to learn that how we can constrain joints on their position and then solve the ragdoll, and that will constrain the joint on the place where it was before, just like we used to do in the KineFX method with the solver. So let's delete this scene invoke. We don't need it anymore right now, and go back to the ragdoll. Just press C and go to ragdoll, and let's just delete these keyframes. We don't need it anymore. So select the Electra controls and delete these keyframes, and also delete the animation layer we have right over here. So delete layer. And again, if you don't know about this animation layers, I have the animation layer tutorial created by me on the description. Oops. So we can just erase the pose. let's just go to the pose mode and press G and click on this brush icon, and it will delete all the poses. Now press Ctrl plus G again to hide it and go to Ragdoll, G, and let's update the Ragdoll. So you have to press Ctrl plus Z and Ragdoll settings, reload target animation. Done. Now what we want to do is we want to see the collision stage, so we can select it in a better way. Now, like if you want to constrain this hand joint, you can select that and press G and go to Ragdoll, and on the animated tab you have to turn on this match world transforms, and I can just get it on the side and lock it. Now if you simulate it again, as you can see, the hand stays on the place, and you can get jitterings like this sometimes, and it is happening because the hand is staying on the place, but the solver is wants to move it away, and because it can't move it, the other collision shapes are intersecting with it, and then the solver is obviously getting the jitter. And what you can do to fix this is let's first select this joint again, and you can turn off match world transforms and turn off the active too, and sometimes just fix it. As you can see, the jittering is fixed. And you get that joint constrained. And you can also do this by selecting the collision shapes. So let's set this joint to active, and let's say that if you want to get this hand collision geometry constrained, you just have to select that and turn off the active. Now if you play it, as you can see, that one is now constrained. So this is it for the constrainting session. Now in the next session we will learn about setting simulation parameters. So now we will learn about how we can set simulation parameters such as stiffness or dampening or density on these controls. And to do that, let's again go to the Ragdoll mode, and I have this reset it. Let's just so now to set the simulation parameters for any joints or the collision shapes, you can also use the collision shapes. So let's just do it for the joint, like for the neck. If you don't want it to move too fast, let's just do it for all the controls. So select all the electric controls except the root, because obviously that doesn't have any weighted shapes. And now what you have to do is press G and go to Ragdoll, and over here you have first frame. So only the valid controls can have their parameters. So we can just select the Ragdoll instead. And now you can set the stiffness for all of them, like something like 20. Let's just do a before and after. So 5, and let's simulate it, and it falls like this. And now we set it to select all of them by selecting it in the selection set, and then set the bend stiffness on 20. And now if you play it again, as you can see, it just falls more naturally. So 20 looks like a good parameter, and you can keep it. And you can set them for each of those the collision shapes or the joints, and they can be different. Like the neck can have more stiffness, maybe less. I think it is less, so 15. And these leg joints should have more stiffness, so something like 30. The foot joints, you can also select them from here, but don't select the heel one because that doesn't have any weighted geometry. Now if you play it, plays like this. And you can also adjust the density, like if you select all of them and go to constant and set the density to a higher value, like a something like 7,000. This is too high, but let's see. As you can see, it just feels, it doesn't feel that much of difference. But anyways, it can be stay on 1000, and you can increase the bounce like this, and it will bounce on the ground. As you can see, you can decrease the frictions if the collision shape, I mean the base geometry is slippery. And if we have a metallic electra, then metals are usually have lower frictions, I think. I am not sure. So, and this is it for the setting the simulation parameters session. So now let's learn about the Ragdoll pose mode. So press C and go to the Ragdoll mode. And to go to the Ragdoll pose mode, because we are right now on the Ragdoll solve mode. So over here you just solve the Ragdoll, and this is not real time. So to go to the Ragdoll pose mode, you just have to press O. And now you are in the Ragdoll pose mode. And let's just hide the ground display. Press Ctrl plus G to get the animate settings set, and then go to Ragdoll pose settings, and on the solver disable the ground display. And also, if you decrease the time step, the Ragdoll solve will be much faster, and it will be much more detailed, and it will detect the collisions much faster, but it will be much slower to calculate, but still it will be real time. So now we can Ctrl plus G again to hide that, and let's hide the Electra character. We just want to see the controls of it, so just disable the character. And now if you move anything, so any joint, and if it collides with anything, let's align it so that it can collide. And so as you can see, the hand collides but the fingers don't. And the reason behind this, as you can see, when this joint is selected and getting moved, as you can see, it becomes light gray, and that means it is active. But the other joints, I mean the collision shapes, stay gray because they are not active. And you can make them all of them active if you want, or just the upper parts if you want. And to do that, you have to select just select the collision shapes you want to make active and press Ctrl plus E. Now they all will turn light gray and they all are now active. So let's just reset its position by pressing G and just clear it. Let's just press O again to leave it and go back again to refresh. And now if you move any of these joints, all of the other joints will move except the leg because that isn't active. I mean the foot, and it can obviously collide with each other like this. So, and you can also view the actual shapes if you want by pressing Ctrl plus G and set the display mode to skin geometry. Now you can control it like this. And enough fun. So, and it is saved as a keyframe, and you can delete it if you want from all the Electra joints. Just delete it and it will be reset. And you just have to press O and again O to reset it. And you can obviously animate it if you want in the pose mode. So just select all the Electra controls, set a keyframe on the first frame and then set another keyframe on the 24th frame. And now you can just select the hand control and move it over here and let the control snap back, and now it is animated. And if you turn on the Electra, the main geometry viewer, and turn off the Ragdoll viewer, it is applied on it too. And it is much better because it is solved and it has physics to it. So it is better than manual keyframing, but you lose the controls sometimes. But mostly it is better for me. So whenever I make a very I mean like a dense animation, I use this. And now you can obviously go to the animate and you will see this animation applied. And if you want to reset it, you can just select them and delete these keyframes. And another thing you can do, let's go to the Ragdoll mode again and press O. So another thing we can do is we can again set different parameters for the collision shapes if you want. Ctrl plus Z and Ragdoll pose settings and set it to collision shapes. And now you can select any of these shapes and press G, and you have to go to Ragdoll pose and you can increase the density if you want or the stiffness, and it will be applied like on any of these shapes. And if you now move it, that will be applied obviously. As you can see, it is more stiff, and also the head. And obviously you can animate it if you want. And this is it for the Ragdoll pose mode, and in the next session we will learn about the adding props as rigid bodies into our Ragdoll pose mode or anything. So now we will learn that how we can add props as rigid bodies to our Ragdoll simulation in the pose mode. And to do that, you have to first make a prop. So let's switch to view mode and add a box. And now you can scale it down if you want. And now you just have to edit as a prop using the Apex scene add prop node. So connect it with our scene and connect the box to the second input. And now we have in the box over as a prop. And now you can go to pose mode, and this torus is the control of it, but we don't want that. So let's use ball, and you can modify the rest position for it. And now you don't have to do all the configuration of the collision shapes like we did earlier for the character, because this is just a prop and we can do it over here. Over here you have this ragdoll option. You have to just turn it on and it will do it for you. You just have to set the collision shape method, the method to generate the convex hulls. And if you want to use this method to generate the collision shape, you can also do that. And for that you have to now extract the base dot scale and base dot shape from this in the character folder, in its character folder. So here you have the base shape and base scale for this prop. Let's name it to box prop, and now we can animate it. And also for configuring this character, after you do it in this way, if you want, you just have to select the correct rig path from here, and then these ones will be automatically be selected, so you don't have to modify them. You just have to set the ragdoll character name. But we don't have to use this method because the ragdoll option in the Apex Scene 8 prop node just works fine. And now we can go to our scene animate node and go to pose mode and press C and go to ragdoll. And now you also have this box, and let's just pose this so it is above and it is not colliding with the ground, so somewhere like this. And now you can just go to the ragdoll, and now because obviously we have to update it, so go to press Ctrl plus G to get the animate settings set, go to ragdoll settings and reload target animation for both of these characters, the animation clips of both of these characters. So after you do that, you can get that position. And now if you play this simulation, and let's first press Ctrl plus G again and go to Solver tab, turn off ground display and offset the position of the ragdoll shapes. And now if you play it, as you can see, everything works just fine. And the prop is now added as a rigid body, as you can see. And you can also add bounce if you want on it. Let's have some bounce, and let's lower the density so that it can bounce. And now if you play it again, it will just bounce like this in the scene, just like that. And maybe we don't want that for simulation, so let's just set it to 1000 and keep the bounce to 0 point, something like this. Let's play now, and it looks good. And you can also have this in the ragdoll pose mode if you want. So let's press O to go to the ragdoll pose mode, and we can obviously remove the display for the man shapes. So turn off the character display for the Electra and the box prop, and now we only have the collision shapes visible. And now let's just select them all and make them all active by pressing Ctrl+E. And now obviously you can move the hand like this, and it will collide with it. And you can select it and press G, and then you can obviously set bounce, and let's set if you lower the friction, then the hand will just slide, and if you make the friction higher, and the hand will also drag the box with it. So let's increase the friction and decrease the density so that it is effective, and select the hand control, and now you can see it is controllable even in the ragdoll pose mode. And you can obviously map it back to the man geometry. It is already mapped, so you just have to remove the view of the Electra ragdoll and it will work. And this is it for this session, and in the next session we'll learn that how we can merge manual keyframe animation and ragdoll animations. So thanks. So now we are going to learn that how we can merge ragdoll simulations and manual keyframe animations. So what I did here is kept the previously configured Electra which we configured before, and added another Electra with the metallic shader. And the reason why I didn't did this configuration over here, or this, because it already comes with the ragdoll configuration if you enable this configure ragdoll option. But one problem I had was that over here I named it Electra Ragdoll, my previous configured character, and for this one the ragdoll name is Sam as this. It is Sam, the Electra ragdoll. And to fix that, what I did is I just took a Electra node and right clicked on it, allow editing of contents, and go inside, and on the ragdoll options, I mean the network, on the configure character node, you just have to change the name to anything else. So for my Electra character, I just named it Metal Electra, and it worked. And then I did a simple punch animation, as you can see, and it lasts for 10 frames, as you can see. And after the 10th frame, at the 11th frame, we want to switch to the ragdoll simulation. And to do that, we will first go to the ragdoll mode, pressing C and going to ragdoll. And let's just press Ctrl+G and go to ragdoll setting and remove the ground display. And let's offset these characters. And now let's press Ctrl+G again and reload target animation. And now what I want to do is I don't want the Electra ragdoll to be active, and I want this one to only be active after the 10th frame on the 11th frame. So right now it just falls from the first frame, but we don't want that. And to do that, first we will select the Electra ragdoll over here, and we will press G, and go to Ragdoll tab on the, make some space. So over here, let's just select Electra Ragdoll again, and we want the Electra Ragdoll to be to not be active, and to do that, just turn off the character active to off, and now that character will be active and static, and it will just follow the animation we have. And now we want this character to be only be active after the 11th frame, and to do that we will select it and select the Metal-Electra Ragdoll collision shapes from the selection set, and then turn the character active off, and keyframe it on the 10th keyframe, 10th frame, and keyframe it, and on the 11th frame we want to turn it on, so keyframe it again by alt clicking and turn it on. So now on the 11th frame it will turn on and just fall down. As you can see, it works as expected, and now we can just select these shapes and change the parameters like band stiffness. We want this to be something like 18, and also the legs should be more stiff. So this for this stiffness should be 35, and band dampening should be 1.1, and the head, the density for the head should be more, so something like 1500. And let's set a uniform bounce so that the character bounces. Select it from the selection set and set the bounce to something high, and just like that, now we have a working ragdoll simulation. So it's like this, and we can add more animation on top of it if we want. And now to bake it on these characters, we only want to do it for the Metal-Electra. So just press Ctrl+G, and if you don't want to if you don't know how to use Apex animation layers, then you can just turn in the bake keys to new layer off, and then start recording the poses. But I know it, and I can also link the video about it in description, so just watch that about the animation layers, and you will have enough understanding of it. So start recording poses from the 11th frame, and turn on bake keys on to the new layer, and play this, and now we can stop it, and as you can see we have the keyframes. And now you can go to the animation layers window, and on the ragdoll animation, and currently if you see this, the character just stays static until the frame 11, and to fix that you just have to block the animation until the 11th frame. You have to block the ragdoll animation, and to do that just right click, and let's add weight to channel list so that we can see it, and we want to select it, make a play bar selection from frame 11 to frame 72, and then right click and set weight from play bar selection, and now it will be 0 before the 10th 11th frame, and then on the 11th frame it will become 1, the weight of it, and now you have it working. And just like this, now you can go to pose mode and turn off the animate settings HUD, and now you can just drop a apex scene invoke, and then invoke it, output all character shapes, and it is ready. And now it is a geometry, and it is ready to render, and you just need to unpack it 2 times. So drop down a unpack and do it for 2 iterations, and now you have the actual geometry. So now we will learn that how we can make the ragdoll simulation match another animation using the separate animation layers we created for it. And this is just to demonstrate that how you can make good use of the animation layer you created for the ragdoll. So go to the animation layers window and create another layer. Call it let's say hand movement, and keep it on 8. And now we will just animate a simple hand animation. And to do that, first we have to add the joints to this layer. Let's select the controls to layer, and now we will animate it. So and let's just disable it while we are animating it. Now we can disable the disable, and now if you play it, as you can see, the ragdoll follows the animation. And at last it looks weird because it is still following that animation. I mean the pose it created. And to fix that, we can just animate the weight of it. So let's just do a keyframe on 24th frame, and on 36th frame we'll set it to 0, and also add this keyframes to the channel list so that you can see. Now as you can see, you can create really good looking animations with this by having the ragdoll as a separate animation layer, because you can add another layers to it. And you can also set it to override if you want, like this. So this is it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Bye bye.